if everyone is progressing on a skateboard and getting that feeling of learning and capitalizing on failure to get further and having fun on a skateboard, if you're having fun and if you're progressing and if you're feeling that feeling of skateboarding, then I think that's a good thing.
You're listening to Relish This, the Purpose Marketing Podcast. Here's your host, Stu Swineford.
Hey everybody, Stu here with another great episode of Relish This. My guest today is Keegan Guizard, and he is on the board of the College Skateboarding Educational Foundation. And that organization helps get skaters college scholarships. It's really cool. And we talked a lot about the commonalities between pushing oneself, whether that's in skiing or skateboarding or any adventure sport, and how that experience can translate to college or running an organization or just being an entrepreneur. One of the really key things and takeaways, I think, from this episode is this idea that if you're running a sweepstakes or you have a donor situation where you have a silent auction, if you can create opportunities to exchange experiences versus just things, you're going to hit it out of the park. This is something that has proven to be true, and it's really cool to think about ways to leverage your contacts, your partnerships, your corporate sponsorships to get experiences, because those are going to really resonate with your donors. I love this episode. Hope you guys do too. Here we go. Keegan, welcome to the show. Thanks for being on.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm really excited to talk with you today about your project and your organization. You do some really cool things in the skateboarding world, right?
I guess you could say that. Yeah, I've been skateboarding since 1998, and after going to school, there's a whole long story. But yeah, we did skateboarding contests for college students, and now we have a 501c3 nonprofit that awards college scholarships to skaters.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. So tell us more about that. How long have you been doing that, and how do you guys make a difference in the world through granting kids who are skateboarding the opportunity to go to school?
Yeah, well, it is the College Skateboarding Educational Foundation, CSEF. We exist to award college scholarships to skaters that are already on that path and doing good things in their community, have good grades and financial need. I met the co-founders early 2016. Fast forward past the paperwork, in late 2017, we launched as a brand, as a nonprofit. And we actually just yesterday opened our scholarship applications for the fourth consecutive year. So this summer, 2021, will be the fourth year of getting those scholarship checks out.
Oh, that's awesome. How much are you able to give away every year for kids' scholarship funds?
Yeah, so we are new, as I just told you when we started. We're a budding nonprofit. In 2018 summer, we just had some money from family and friends and gave out 6 $500 checks.
Okay.
The following year, we gave out 8 $1,000 checks.
Nice.
And last year was going to be a lot more growth, but we still did slightly grow. We gave out 9 $1,000 checks.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, that helps out with some books and helps to cover some, tuition fees, I assume.
Absolutely. And we might get into this more later. But a big part of it too is we're growing and we're going to give larger amounts out this year. And we're really excited for that.
Okay.
But we spread the wealth a bit on purpose, especially in the beginning, because a lot of these kids, I say kids, but the first year we gave a scholarship to a 44-year-old.
Oh, neat.
So a lot of our scholarship recipients, they just have such good stories and they're doing such good work in their communities on top of keeping their grades up and needing the money. So yeah, it'll help them pay the rent for the dorm or afford their books. But then also we get to shed some light on them and their journey, and in some cases that has led them to land an internship that helped them with money for the following summer, or
Oh, that's great.
hook up with companies for other benefits in their lives.
So just being a recipient of your funding helps them kind of achieve additional opportunities.
In some cases, yeah.
Great. That's awesome. So where are you hoping to go in, let's look at the forecast, like 5 years from now, if everything goes great, where are you guys landing in terms of what you're able to contribute to these educational funds?
Yeah. So 3 to 5 years from now, we definitely have that roadmap kind of laid out, and we're looking to afford to pay 1 or 2 people. Right now, we are an all volunteer board, so all of the money that comes in goes directly to the scholarship fund. So 3 to 5 years from now, having paid staff, at least 1, hopefully 2 or 3 of us, and awarding at least a dozen full ride scholarships, much larger amount.
That's great. And are you working within a specific system like University of California, or can people take these scholarships and kind of go wherever they'd like?
Yeah, it's wherever you're in school in the United States.
Okay, great.
So we've had people get scholarships that are in Oregon, Arkansas, Florida, California, and even 2020, our most recent scholarship recipients, 4 of the 9 were actually internationals, but they were studying in the U.S., so they're eligible.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic. So it sounds like you have a few different constituent bases in terms of needing to gather donations, needing to get people aware of your programs. What are you guys doing right now to kind of spread the word and make sure people have a good understanding of who you are and what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so I mean, all the basics. Facebook and Instagram following. We have our email newsletter. We drive traffic to the website and build those lists further through other means and through that. Some of our partners, larger donors or individual donors, word of mouth marketing, collaborative messaging with some of our corporate partners that we've had in the past, and just making sure that one thing that's really important to me is just making sure that every interaction anyone has with our brand is not only true to the message, but just a positive experience.
Great.
So at least in the first 2 years, it's definitely, I think it should be forever this way, but definitely quality over quantity to an extent, right?
Yeah, for sure. I like that approach. I think that so many organizations out there try and spread themselves too thin, and so either their focus is distracted or just a little spread out, and so they don't have the ability or opportunity to really cement those relationships. So that would be, even in that early phases of engagement where they're trying to attract or connect with audiences, just being spread a little thin can create challenges there. And then it sounds like, and I'd love to learn more about what you're doing here, but it sounds like you have a pretty robust kind of inspire phase, where you're really trying to stay in touch with recipients and make sure that their experience is being, fulfilled. How are you guys doing that?
Definitely. As I hinted at before, we're a volunteer team. So all of us on the board of directors, personally stay in touch with our recipients. I mean, so far it's only been 20 of them, and it's going to grow again this year. But yeah, we Instagram DM, if I'm being honest. We just exchange messages and And every quarter, I'll reach out to everyone on email and just say like, "Hey, how has your experience been? Share with us. What have your struggles been?" Especially when the COVID-19 pandemic came around.
Right.
I was really interested to see what their experience in school has been. Like, are they having classes in person?
Mm-hmm.
Has either way, if or if not, has that affected their experience positively or negatively or both? We stay in touch with them in those ways. Part of what we do is, like I said, bringing attention to our recipients in scholarship class, and we have partnerships with like Thrasher magazine,
Okay.
which is like the biggest skateboarding media outlet in the U.S. anyway. So they're just stoked even to get their faces posted on Thrasher because
That's
they're
awesome. Yeah.
studying, and they're like rad skaters and they're in school. So
So
yeah, a
is
lot of it's just
Thrasher
encouragement.
writing articles about your program? Is that kind of how that's getting out there?
Well, in 2020, we announced our scholarship recipients with Thrasher, and then
Okay.
at the time of this recording, yesterday, they posted that our applications are open and shared a graphic and appropriate
Nice.
links and all that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a really cool partnership. I mean, they have such a huge following, and that mag's been around forever. It's just kind of like the gold standard of skater magazines. So that's great that you have that relationship.
It's good that you know that for sure. It definitely has a loyalist, almost cult-like following.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of skateboarders have been in the game for their whole lives, or would refer to it as the Bible.
That's great. Well, it's always good to. Well, maybe it's always good to get mentioned in the Bible. We'll call it good this time, right?
Yeah, generally. Yeah, we're all working on it. They're great. They do great stuff. I think this is probably a theme for organizations in general or nonprofits in general. I think everyone is holding themselves more accountable if they were to ever have a potential cancel moment in the past. And Thrasher has been really good about being more inclusive and making skateboarding feel more inclusive. Skateboarding in general has become a lot more inclusive in the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's great to see.
Yeah.
It's certainly been through its moments, and so that's what I really like what you guys are doing, because I think that there are a lot of people out there that have a negative idea about skateboarding, and it, honestly, it's just such a great outlet for so many people. So demonstrating and shedding a light and bringing a lot of positivity into that area, I think is just really a helpful thing to be able to do. And it's cool that you're contributing to that.
Thank
you. What other kind of corporate partnerships have you engaged in, and what's been your mechanism to get in front of those people?
In the beginning, it was really just skateboarding industry contacts.
Okay.
And now we're getting to the stage where we want to go beyond that. We have worked with Nike in the past and are working on working towards doing things with other similar companies as well.
That's great. Are you actively pursuing a specific target list, or are you just kind of have the feelers out there? What's your process?
Yeah, we have our feelers out there all the time, and we have lots of allies all over the country that are looking out for us. So to be honest, our bandwidth is full with what comes to us at this point. And we're at that kind of sweet spot where we organically get just as much as we can handle.
Okay.
Which is great. We do have a list for what comes after that, and we might dip in there in April.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been really seamless like I said, we started with just kind of skate industry contacts at first, and corporate donors and individual donors and family and friends in the very beginning. But we are bringing someone onto the board to help with more grant writing. We just haven't had the bandwidth to even get into that whole world, not seriously anyway. So looking to larger foundations who have budget to support a foundation like ours is something we're going to be doing more of this year.
Oh, that's great. I think that there are a lot of those partnerships that you can make where you can leverage their expertise and their experience, as well as, if they're big enough, maybe lean on them even being able to kick over some staffing in terms of people helping either vet or even write some of those grant proposals. Those can be quite time consuming. So it's really cool to figure out ways to, particularly as you guys are growing, figure out ways to leverage all those assets in a way that isn't going to make you come across as too demanding, but does provide the the opportunity to tap into some of those mechanisms that are already in place.
Yeah, definitely.
I just had a thought about some things. Okay, I have a question around your fundraising, and when you mentioned that within 3 to 5 years you're really hoping to fund full ride scholarships, are you kind of budgeting about $40,000 per year for each of those, or where does that what kind of numbers are you looking at there?
That's a good question. We haven't, to be quite honest with you, we haven't settled on those numbers or had a full meeting about that yet. That sounds about right. I guess like the average full year cost with tuition and fees and attached other costs,
right?
At universities across the country is probably somewhere around 36 or 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So 40 would be a good blanket to make sure everyone's covered.
And then
also you could create campaigns around particular people that need help. Maybe we decide to revisit past scholarship recipients who are still doing good work or moved on into a master's program. And for this amount of money, as a donor, you could sponsor them, and obviously there's some sort of recognition or collaboration involved. Right.
Yeah, I think that. Well, one of the other questions I had was in terms of people that you get, that you get them a scholarship, and you provide them with the first year. Then what happens? Years 2, 3, and 4, or beyond, depending upon where they're going, to keep them, able to continue their studies. Are you looking at multi-year type of engagements as well, or really just kind of one hits and let people take it from there?
So far, it's been one hits.
Okay.
But then we stay in touch as well, and this won't be sustainable when we're much larger in 5 years.
Right.
But just personally, person to person, one-on-one, offering advice and not just myself, but others on the board as well, kind of play the role of the counselor that is your friend. We're just kind of talk them through things. And some of the new board members we're bringing on are younger, closer to college age now, which I think is valuable. So their experience of being a college student is much more fresh in their memory.
Right.
I think that's really important. But yeah.
Well, it changes so much too. I mean, I know the college experience when I was in school, 30 plus years ago is significantly different than things are today.
Even mine, only 9 years ago, it's already changed so much.
Yeah, it changes really rapidly. It's kind of interesting, and I think that's compounded by COVID and all the crazy things that people are going through these days that you and I might not have even thought of. So it's really an interesting landscape that you've jumped into. Do you, so in terms of those donations that are going to fuel this stuff. So obviously you're going to try and tap into some grants and you have some sponsorship opportunities. Have you, with your corporate sponsorships, do you have access to kind of their lists? Are they big enough that you could leverage those, those partnerships to help expand your mission?
It depends on what the campaign looks like.
Okay.
We haven't done much of that at the large scale you might be thinking of yet.
Okay.
But yeah, we make an appropriate announcement with the partner or the sponsor or the donor, and that is definitely a part of it. We all want to, multiply the collective voice together with our own followings or our own friends, and supporters, etc.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things that we've seen, and this is a partner slash they're here in the area, and we're friends with them. And it's a company called TapKat.
Okay.
And they run sweepstakes for nonprofits. And one of the things that we've seen be really successful when running a sweepstakes with TapKat is having access to a decent sized distribution list. So when there's a corporate sponsorship that or partnership that the nonprofit has, the ability to tap into that mailing list or that social audience really helps extend and expand the ability to hit all of the goal figures for that campaign. And so typically they do a couple of things. One is create opportunities to tap into a sponsor. Kind of the sponsor can either donate or sell to the nonprofit at a reduced cost some really desirous sweepstakes winner item. So for you guys, it could be some sort of limited edition or some rare skateboard that Thrasher has access to, or it could be even something bigger that Nike might have that allows you to really start to entice people to participate in the sweepstakes. And the way that those work is they tap into a couple of different motivations. So the first is just this desire to help. So your entry becomes a donation to the nonprofit, as well as this desire to win something. So it's kind of layering on motivations, which is one really good way to entice people to participate. But then just really keying into those assets that your corporate sponsors have to kind of fuel that sweepstakes can be super effective. And they've had really good luck, particularly with nonprofits who do have those kinds of partnerships. So that might be someone to keep in mind as you guys are trying to raise more funds to help expand your your mission and help more people get a little bit of assistance going to college.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. I actually just made a note.
Yeah, and I'm happy to make an introduction to them as well if that sounds like something you'd be interested in.
Sure. Yeah.
In terms of your recipient base, are you do people typically find out about you through promotion in Thrasher, or what's the mechanism by which people find out about your organization?
Yeah, I think word of mouth, media partnerships like the one we have with Thrasher. There are other skate publications and other larger publications we've worked with too.
Okay.
Like we've appeared in like Univision.
Okay.
And I can't list them off the top of my head right now, but we've had some of that stuff. And I forget the question. I'm sorry.
Oh, how do you get the word out that a scholarship's available to somebody who might be a recipient or would be interested in receiving a scholarship?
Oh, yeah. I mean, really, yeah, that is just word of mouth and pointing to our social media and website and sign up for newsletter and things like that. So
Okay.
building our own personal following is a big part of it. Um, we are still in that early growth phase.
Yes.
Um, and I am really confident about our growth patterns moving forward because of the place that skateboarding is in right now. Um, but right now it is kind of skateboarding endemic. I mean, anyone who applies for scholarship and is truly eligible really does skate, right?
Right.
So that is a limited group of people to some extent, but it's
Sure.
growing rapidly.
Right.
And with skateboarding being in the Olympics is one that gets brought up quite a bit.
Yeah. So that was going to happen last year, right? Was that the first year, or was that the second?
Yeah, that was Tokyo 2020, but they're still calling it Tokyo 2020.
Yep.
If it happens in 2021, will be the first. Will be the first time skateboarding appears in the Olympic Games, and they're still planning for it to be this year. Um, I have my friend Josh, who works at USA Skateboarding, reports to World Skate, which reports to the IOC.
Okay.
And so there are definitely some complications, and I hope it all works out. Their qualification system has changed,
Okay.
for obvious reasons. You know, qualifying contest events, in-person events just aren't as possible
Right.
as they were
Right.
a year ago.
Yeah, it's been an interesting time for athletes across the board in terms of how competitions are a little more challenging to put on at this point.
Sure.
So we're with that addition to the Olympics, that's bringing a lot of interest into the sport at this time. How many followers do you currently have? Do you know on your social media channels?
We're 4,700 on Instagram.
Okay.
Well, we're above that, but like
Okay.
approaching 5,000 now. I'm not sure about our Facebook.
Okay.
Maybe I should know that one, but
That's okay.
yeah, and like a couple thousand on the email newsletter.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of where we stand right now. Just general interest in skateboarding rising is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it's been pretty easy to find people who want to support our mission. It's kind of a no-brainer. And one thing I wanted to mention at some point in this conversation is that, you know, skateboarding has been held down in the stereotype of, you know, burnout. You're not doing anything with your life, just smoking weed and skating, hanging out in the streets, just skateboarding and doing nothing with your life kind of thing. Like
Yep.
punk rock and skating and what's next, really.
Right.
And that's begun to change. And the Olympic example is probably the most prominent.
Yeah.
But even before skateboarding was in the Olympics, I started skating in like the early X Games era.
Right.
Right. Even that was a time much different than 10 years prior.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it had already grown a lot when I was 9 years old watching Tony Hawk do the 900 live. And it's only gone further in that direction. I mean, it is very possible for a skateboarder to have a lucrative career. It's still very possible to be a struggling, starving,
Yep.
aspiring pro skateboarder. That is for sure. I'm not saying that deciding to try to be a pro skateboarder will be easy.
Right.
But those opportunities have broadened, and you know, skateboarding is just in a different place right now. A lot of skateboarders who have been in it for a long time, like my age or older, feel bitter about that because it's not what it used to be, man. Kind of attitude, you know?
Right. Right.
You don't got to work for it anymore. Anyone can come out here, and you know, skate parks are everywhere. They don't know what it's like. When it comes down to it, you can decide to have pride about the history and the time and the pain you've put into skateboarding. But really, at the end of the day, if everyone is progressing on a skateboard and getting that feeling of learning and capitalizing on failure to get further and having fun on a skateboard, if you're having fun and if you're progressing and if you're feeling that feeling of skateboarding, then I think that's a good thing. And I think those people should just keep their curmudgeonness to themselves.
I agree.
Even though I have been that guy before, so I understand. But yeah, everyone's out there having fun, and then on top of that, with the pandemic, also board sales went way up.
Yeah.
A lot of new people buying bicycles and skateboards because it's something that you can do while socially distanced.
Yep.
And on a different level as well, that's only helping the industry bring in more revenue to support themselves and to support more pro skaters and to support skateboarders in general more, and to support foundations like the ones my friends run and like the one that I run as well. So I genuinely see it as a great thing that skateboarding is expanding.
Yeah, I think that, there were a couple things you mentioned there, and the first one reminds me of kind of a quote that we have in the ski world, which is what I do most these days. Ski and ride bikes, and that's, if you're not falling down every once in a while, you're not trying hard enough.
Absolutely.
And so, I think that goes the same with running a foundation or running an organization like you guys have put together. And, ultimately you have to take some risk in order to learn and to grow. And, taking that first step to just even say, hey, let's do this so that we can help some people have a little bit of a leg up, I think is just that's the first step. And you certainly, have gotten out of your comfort zone, and I'm sure we'll continue to do that. And so it's just great to see that motivation and application of those life lessons that do span across a variety of different phases that we have in our collective lives.
Yeah, definitely. I think, people who are familiar with skateboarding already know this, but maybe not everyone in your audience is that person. Skateboarders have a really special relationship with failure in general. I'm same with anyone who's exercising and pushing themselves physically or pushing themselves at all, if it's in nonprofits or like yourself, downhill skiing. There's a really special relationship with failure because you're almost guaranteed to inflict pain on yourself if you're pushing your boundaries. And that translates to other areas of life, right? I think anyone who has gone through I'll just speak on behalf of 4-year programs right now. Mm-hmm. Anyone who's gone through school in that way, I think if they said there was never a time when they just wanted to bang their head against the wall and scream out loud because why do I have to do this part? They're probably lying. There are certain parts of the process that might seem pointless. I think a part of holding a degree, especially just a bachelor's degree, is proving that you can just get the shit done.
Yep.
That you're reliable enough to do the same thing for 4 years and not quit is a big part of why a college degree still even holds value. Anyway, so yeah, I think what you learn in skateboarding from falling and getting back up and falling and getting back up and falling 60 times to get that one video clip
yep.
Is useful when you're, cramming for 3 final exams that might fall on the same day. You might
absolutely.
You're a crazy person. but you know that there's something at the end of the tunnel that's wonderful. So keep on doing it.
Yeah, I love that analogy. I also like that you pointed out how many takes it can take to nail that trick, because I think that a lot of people see the success, and so when you go to Instagram or you go on YouTube, you see the finished product, which is not necessarily every that wasn't a one take kind of endeavor, and really just embracing the idea of whether it's going to college or starting a nonprofit or learning to do a really cool trick on your skateboard. There's a lot more that goes into it for the vast majority of us than just grabbing the board and going and doing it the first try. It's a process, and it takes a lot of falling down before we get it right.
Definitely. And there are different levels to it as well. I don't know what your listeners might have experienced with skateboarders in the street skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since the introduction of street skateboarding as a part of skating, it's been the biggest faction of it. It's been the most popular, and that is a big part of the DNA of skateboarding. And part of the get back up after failure to try again and try again and try again is dealing with security guards and going back to the spot on a Sunday or going back to the spot for the 12th time.
Right.
And all that gas and the time it takes to actually get all 5 of your friends to show up at the skate park by 1 o'clock or whatever it might be. Right.
Right.
And then as you get older, you become more courteous, and you can identify with the struggles of that security guard, and be nice to everyone. But that's part of it too. It's getting kicked out of spots, and
mm-hmm.
maybe I'm based in Los Angeles. Maybe your board goes down the ditch into the LA River.
Right.
Or whatever. There's so much more to it even than just having a really bad bruise on the palm of your hand. It's even more than just falling, and falling is a lot of it. You could stay at a spot for 110 tries and barely walk away. But there are so many layers to it. And so, going back to the point is that sort of activity and all the issues that go along with it create a drive and a discipline that I don't even think a lot of skaters realize that they're building within themselves.
Right.
It translates to just real life shit.
Yeah, for sure. It's that tenacity, I think, that college students need and have, and that can really come from all of the hardship and the trial and error and the learning that goes on while trying to pick up a sport like skateboarding. Tenacity is
a good word to use.
Yeah,
I like that one. There are lots that would fit there, but that's a good one.
Yeah, I just know how much people struggle with trying to learn something new, and whether that's in school or in a skate park or just out on the street, skating, learning a new trick is hard, and it takes perseverance and that desire to overcome. And it's very applicable to that college experience.
Yeah. I'm a very proud skateboarder, and I don't know how many of your listeners can personally relate to that. But one thing that I enjoy doing, I do it very passively. I wouldn't call myself a climber, but rock climbing has a lot of shared habits, and shared, like, the culture even is kind of similar. The dirt bag culture of, like, You can just live in your van and do the shit, bro. Like that, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And like the fact that they call the routes that they're pursuing problems, and you solve the problem, and you spend hours discovering approaches, or you spend anyway. You might get what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I've related to as a skateboarder, and I think it's a lot more similar to skating than people might have previously realized. So
I mean, those guys work a single move for hours and hours and days and even weeks to perfect it before they really get to the point where they can send that one pitch. There might be one little crux move that they have to work out. And climbing's an amazing sport in that capacity. So
years of practice to get that one really strong hold on that one type of crimp.
Yep.
Just like it would take years of practice to get that one trick consistent enough to bring it to a spot.
Yeah. I remember when I went to school, it took me 3 years to really figure out how to study, where I could retain and apply all of the stuff that was getting crammed into my head. And so, just like learning a new trick, applying yourself in that capacity is honing those skills and really dialing it in until you have it, perfected.
Absolutely.
So what are the criteria for being a scholarship recipient? Do you have, are there a bunch of, or a few hoops that people have to jump through in order to become a recipient?
Well, there are 3 categories, and I'll fully answer that question. There are 3 categories. 1 is you have to have good grades. 2 is you have to have the financial need, and show it with FAFSA forms. And 3, you have to be involved in your community. So we have a minimum 2.5 GPA. Okay. I think the average GPA of the people who end up getting scholarships is like 3.8 plus.
Okay.
So smart kids, financial need. So if your household income is above 80K, then you might be less likely to be awarded a scholarship.
Right.
Unless it shows that you are the youngest of 8 children or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
So we take transcripts and FAFSA forms and tax forms into account.
Okay.
When considering those things. And then the third piece is community involvement. So we have 3 essay questions on our scholarship application. We change them slightly, but one of them is usually what does skateboarding mean to you, or how did it come into your life? The second being how did you select your major or field of study, and what do you like about it? And the third being tell us something else about yourself. Okay. And that is their chance to brag on what they've done. And we get 200 plus applications every year. So narrowing it down to less than 10 is so difficult, because half of the applications we get are really impressive individuals.
Right.
And if you don't have something to brag about, you're probably not going to get a scholarship because it's just that competitive. So anyone who's gotten a scholarship from us is either responsible for building their local DIY spot or getting their local skate park built with the Tony Hawk Foundation or otherwise. Mm-hmm. Or they lead female identifying, non-binary, queer friendly skate meetups, or a plethora of things. Or one of the scholarship recipients actually is studying to be a superintendent, was a teacher, and is now in her master's program, and used to work at Thrasher in customer service, and is a part of like the scene encouraging young girls to skate more. So I digress, but good grades, financial need, and you have to have community involvement as a part of your story.
Right.
It's one thing to have the grades and need the money, and to be skateboarding for 15 plus years. Mm-hmm. But it's even more special when you need the money, and you're working a job or two and going to school and doing good work in your community for free.
Right.
Those are the people that that we aspire to keep supporting.
Yeah, no, I think that there is an awful lot to be said for that opportunity to give back and the, taking that initiative is something that it's really cool to see, particularly some of the younger generation people coming up that has become just a part of what they're doing. They, they really feel strongly about doing more for the planet and their communities than just being a citizen. So
Sure.
it's great to see some of that change that's happening, and awesome that you guys are helping to foster that by by encouraging your scholarship recipients to be a part of that community growth.
Definitely. Yeah. And that goes back to what I was kind of hinting at before, where we stay in touch with our scholarship recipients in sort of we have our formal communication, but we also have our more casual, friendly communication, and we try to foster sort of a family atmosphere with the aesthetic of the organization and with like real human contact. Not that contact is physical in these days, but
Right.
the one-on-one conversations and feeling
Yeah.
connected to one another is a big part of it. I think that goes beyond skateboarding. I think everyone wants to feel connected.
Right.
And with COVID, a lot of people have probably experienced more loneliness or little bits of anxiety and depression than they had before, right?
Well, for sure. I think that that's a trend that is not surprising, given how things have kind of evolved over the last year and a half. And that's where I love this idea of kind of this community that you're building. You said nearly 5,000 Instagram followers and roughly 2,000 people on your email list. There may be an opportunity here, because I heard you mention early on that one of the things that's a little bit of a challenge is how do you scale this connectedness and this opportunity to reach out and have actual conversations, whether that's through DM or however you facilitate that. But losing the ability to have that one-on-one and that mentorship capacity of your organization. But one of the things I'm seeing here is that you have some really strong numbers, and where people may be able to contribute more to the organization is in becoming kind of part of that follow-up and that team, if you will, that's supporting these these people who are going to school, who are skaters, and just being able to help create that mechanism by which people can have another outlet to that community and to that ability to give back. That could be something that you could tap into and really enable yourselves to scale a bit more as you start to increase the number of people per year that you're able to help through your scholarships.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot easier. I hate to bring up COVID so much because I personally am sick of hearing about it. But we did have quite a good cadence with in-person events fundraising.
Great.
Coming up to the pandemic, and we were positioned to really flourish last year. And we have, but not maybe as much as we would have otherwise. Leveraging that into like more peer-to-peer fundraising, everyone feels a part of community already, is something really valuable, and we like to capitalize on. We were able, the last event that we did was a dinner fundraiser, like a Skaters Do Gala style dinner fundraiser with drinks and coffee sponsors, and an ex-pro skater Aaron Snyder and his professor brother Greg came together and did it. And we did it at the barracks. And for anyone that skates knows that's a private skate park that's also a media brand that's been very successful.
Right.
Pros go there to film. And so we actually had a dinner fundraiser in the barracks skate park.
That's cool.
February. Yeah, we got it in right before the stay-at-home order was placed in Los Angeles. But normally our events are either non-fundraiser student session. So we've done student session at the barracks, and we're planning on doing it in other places.
Right.
Some exclusive place that you can't really just go to skate.
Right.
But if you show your student ID at the door, then you can come in, and we have drinks and pizza for everybody, and everybody gets to hang out and feel a part of that community as students. And the other type of event we were really pushing was like panel discussions, panel talk events, where experts that are in our network, whether they're skateboarders or they used to skate and they're prominent designers or professors, and they all kind of talk about what role skating had in their lives and what role education had in their lives and how they might intersect.
Oh yeah, that's great.
So panel talks and student sessions, and then we had the dinner fundraiser. Transitioning to virtual events was a bit of a challenge.
Yep.
And we've stepped up to the challenge, and we're doing our best.
Good. I mean, it's been a challenging time. I think, those of us who, and this is how people interact is in, in person and in communities. And it's not our nature necessarily to have everything be so distant. But it's great to hear that you guys are kind of stepping up to that challenge and figuring things out. I think that's fantastic. One of the things that I know is worth exploring is this idea of creating experiences. Mm-hmm. And even if those are not necessarily an entire community coming together, but I really like hearing that you're tapping into the opportunities and your ability to gain access to some of these places that people normally aren't able to access. And that becomes an experience, and that becomes something that people are really willing to pay a lot for, as opposed to just a thing. And so, two things that you can tap into there. And one is just creating opportunities for individual experiences, whether that's, go skate with some pro that you have, a good relationship with, or have a private session in some park that people normally can't access, or something. And this is where you can get some really good tie-ins, is if you can figure out how to create those experiences for one's children. So, typically we have the capacity to donate and to give larger funds as we age. And that's when we also tend to have children. And people are willing to go above and beyond for the opportunity for their kid to experience something remarkable. And so really facilitating those kinds of donor opportunities can be incredibly powerful in terms of getting people to engage on a donor capacity.
Right. Yeah, I like that idea. Makes a lot of sense.
Well, this has been super fun. I can't believe it's been almost an hour already. I've really enjoyed our conversation today. Where can people go to find out more about your organization?
Yeah, you're right. Time just flew. It's been fun. If anybody wants to learn more about us, or if you're a student and you want to apply for a scholarship, or anyone can place a donation and help us further our mission, collegeskateboarding.com or facebook.com/collegeskateboarding or instagram.com/CSEF. So that's the College Skateboarding Educational Foundation. Search that or CSEF skateboarding, and you'll be able to find us. And as I said before, at this point in time, we are all volunteer board of directors. So every dollar that comes in is directly proceeded to the scholarship fund and to those student accounts at universities for those students that win a scholarship. So there's no there's very, very, very little overhead, and we're just pushing the money right into those accounts. So
I love it.
We love the support if anyone is able to do that.
Yeah, that's great. I love when people have that ability to really, contribute in that time capacity that you're clearly giving to this movement, and it's really good to see. So one of the things, if you listen to any of the shows, that I love having these conversations, but I also love people taking action, and action can come in such a variety of different things. It can be, take your dog for a walk, or go, appreciate nature, or, donate to this cause, or go try skateboarding. But what action would you want people to take who've listened to the show today?
Well, the first one that comes to mind, and it's very typical, would be go to our website and give us money. But maybe I'm trying to think of a way that someone who doesn't skateboard could understand skateboarding better. And if they don't feel like, I'm just talking through this out loud, thinking through it, I feel like maybe maybe skateboarders don't feel approachable, especially in certain places if they're like skating in the street.
Right.
But that being said, I would just try to make an effort to, next time you see skateboarding happening, if you so desire, if you're interested, to maybe sit there and take in what they're doing without being too creepy. and just try to understand, like, what exactly is going on over there, like, why. So I see he's like putting his board on the rail as if he's grinding it. He's feeling the intricacies of the topography of the spot. Or maybe the camera guy is looking at a second angle. He wants to show how big the spot is, or what part of the city it's in, or how are they documenting things? How are they focusing in certain areas? Like, how are they doing what they're doing? And it goes beyond, how do you pop that board off the ground? It goes in, there's so much nuance to it. Well, like I said before, I think skateboarding has had that negative stereotype of the burnout, do nothing dude, and that's changed too. It's all genders. And I think it's just, if you are interested in doing something that I'm suggesting right now, then yeah, just kind of take a mental note next time you see a skateboarder in the wild, and try to understand it a little bit more. And we're all humans, and skateboarders are just one type of human. And yeah, I don't know. I'm biased because I love skateboarding, but I think that would be good. Or I guess, if anything, to leave some people with is just be nice to people no matter what.
I love that. Love that attitude. I was fortunate that a couple places I worked when our office was down in Denver, one of the biggest, I think it might be the biggest skate park in Denver, was actually along a route that I used to run quite a bit. And I also used to drive by it pretty much every day, to and from the office. And occasionally I would just stop and just sit and watch these amazing athletes do amazing things. And even people who were clearly just learning, it was so fun to get to see them just enjoying that sport and trying something that's really hard and pushing themselves. So I would echo what you said, to just go out and enjoy watching some people enjoying skating.
Yeah. With no preconceived notions. Right. And then,
yeah, exactly.
With an open mind, you can come to see, like, oh, well, that's really cool how they do that, whatever it might be. Something you'd never noticed before. Is that the Denver skate park in downtown Denver? The red.
It is
concrete.
I can't remember if it's red. It's right on kind of 20th and right down by the Platte River. So right as you come into town, kind of right by the baseball stadium.
Right. I've skated there before.
Yeah, it's a nice little place, and it gets a ton of use. So it's a cool place to go skate.
Definitely, that's a great skate park. Yeah, if you're in the Denver area, go to the Denver skate park and keep your distance, but check it out.
Definitely. Well, thanks for being on the show today, Keegan. It was really wonderful talking with you and learning a little bit more about skating and what you guys are doing to help contribute to the education of some skaters. I think it's great.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I had fun on the call as well. So, thanks for including me.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon.
All right, see ya.
All right, there you have it. Another great episode of Relish This. Thanks for listening. If you would like to learn more about how to apply the audience engagement cycle to expand your organization's mission, there are two things you can do. Right now, you can go to missionuncomfortablebook.com to download a copy of my book. And while you're there, you can get your purpose-driven marketing score to see where you can unearth some gold for your organization. If you'd like to listen to back episodes of the show or sign up to be a guest, go to relishstudio.com/podcast. That's it for this week. I'll be back next week for another great episode of Relish This.